Welcome to Bell2Bell Podcast, powered by IBN. This original audio production delivers market and sector insights, as well as exclusive interviews with innovative executives shaping the future in fast-moving industries, and may feature a client partner of IBN or one of the 60-plus investor-focused brands within IBN's dynamic brand portfolio. As a multifaceted financial news and publishing company, IBN leverages its extensive distribution network, utilizing multiple proprietary corporate communication tools to introduce both public and private companies to a vast and diverse audience of investors, consumers, influencers, journalists, and other targeted segments of the public. IBN may have received compensation to produce this audio content. Please be sure to read IBN's entire disclaimers for full disclosures. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the next revelatory episode of IBN's Bell2Bell Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bell2Bell Podcast, the podcast that rings in your financial success. And once again, I am your host, Stuart Smith. And today we've got another exciting episode for you. We're focusing on a groundbreaking development inside the medical field, and we're doing that by speaking with Annovis Bio. This is a company that's pioneering transformative therapies in neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And they have recently presented significant data at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference, also known as the AAIC. The company is traded on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol ANVS. And joining us today is Maria Maccecchini. She is a Ph.D., a founder and president, and the CEO of Annovis Bio. Boy, that's a lot, Maria. We're going to be discussing a lot of things with you, but first, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you for making time for us. So let's dive right in, Dr. Maccecchini. Now that you've presented your data at the conference that I mentioned above, phase 2 and 3 clinical study, that's what you were presenting here. What has been the feedback from the scientific community regarding betanercept's potential in treating Alzheimer's disease, as well as we mentioned, there's other indications as well for this drug. So let's talk about the reception you've received from the scientific community first.
It actually has been better than I expected. And the reason it has been better than I expected is that out of our 350 patients, we had to take a subgroup of early Alzheimer patients to show that the drug works. So it did not work in the whole population. So, it's always a little tricky when you do use a subgroup, but the data in this subgroup of early patients is really excellent. We see a dose response, we see statistical significance, we see high statistical significance, and basically it shows that the drug is at least 3 times as good as the standard of care that is on the market today.
Well, that's exciting news, and congratulations for that. So as we move forward then, following these detailed presentations at the AAIC, what stands on the roadmap for your company? In other words, what are some of the other things Annovis Bio must do in the clinical trial regulatory milestone landscape? What's next?
So the FDA always requires 2 studies to show that the drug works. And usually these studies have multiple hundreds of people. And in fact, this study had 350. The next one will do 600. So we are going to the FDA to tell them that we are repeating the existing study, that we expect them or hope they will accept the existing study. We are repeating it so that we have the 2 studies. This is a short-term study. I said it works 3 times as well as the existing standard of care, short-term. We have really not shown whether it does or does not work long-term. We also want to ask the FDA to prolong the short study to an 18-month study so that we can show that the drug works short and long-term.
Well, and that's informative as well, and I appreciate that. But still, in talking about the future then, how do you see betanercept impacting the Alzheimer's, just the whole landscape of the disease? Because we know there's a spectrum there. Based on the promising data that you just released at the AAIC, how do you see the impact for your drug?
Now, we did not expect the drug to be 3 times better than Annovis. That is an amazing improvement in cognition. And I said it's short term. But even if it just short-term improves cognition 3 times better than anything on the market, we have a drug that works. If on top of that, it improves cognition 3 times better than anything in the market for 18 months, then that's outstanding. So the good news is that right now we can look at maybe having a drug in approval by the end of next year, because we will reproduce the short study and then go for approval for the short study and then do the long study.
Well, in preparing for this interview, it was easy for me to find a lot of great information about you and your team and the work that you're doing. So first off, thank you for this work and the groundbreaking achievements that you've been able to get here. And thank you for sharing this with us today, Dr. Maccecchini. I know the dedication and the work of your team is bringing hope to a lot of different people suffering. And I'm not just talking about the patients, but the families and the children, as I'm a survivor of it through my father as well. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Well, it is a terrible disease. Now, my mom died of Alzheimer's disease. And here you hear these stories. They tell you about agitation. They tell you about, the problems these people have and gives to the caretaker. And in a lot of ways, one of the things that this meeting is bringing more and more is what do you do with the caretaker? Because this disease is just as bad on the caretaker. It's a slow disease. A caretaker can easily spend 10 years of their life taking care of somebody who's demented. And that is really terrible. So if I just look at what I said, we improve cognition a little bit, and hopefully we can keep it there for the duration until the patient dies of something else. That would be a huge, huge help to everybody.
Well, Annovis Bio and their work on the neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's is truly inspiring. I want to thank our guest today, Dr. Maria Maccecchini, as well as all of our listeners and viewers. I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Bell2Bell podcast. Until next time, I'm your host, Stuart Smith, saying thanks so much, and be sure to add that ticker symbol ANVS to your watch list for Annovis Bio. For Dr. Maccecchini, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for tuning in.
The Bell2Bell Podcast is an original content production powered by IBN, a multifaceted financial news and publishing company that delivers next-generation corporate communication solutions. Utilizing proprietary corporate communication tools such as news aggregation and syndication, social communication, and brand awareness techniques, among others, IBN introduces both public and private companies to diverse audiences to enhance reach and recognition. IBN may receive compensation for services and solutions provided to its client partners. You should assume that the owners, officers, and directors of IBN or financial analysts mentioned in this production may hold a position in and may intend to trade the securities in their own accounts. This production is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell any securities that may be mentioned in this production. The information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be or should it be construed as investment advice. As in all investments, investment in the featured companies carries inherent investment risk. Listeners should review the companies thoroughly with a registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This production by IBN is not purported to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used in statements of fact have been obtained from featured companies and other sources but not verified nor guaranteed by IBN as to completeness and accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice. Please see IBN's full disclaimers and disclosures at www.ibn.fm/disclaimer. Music in this episode is by Infraction. For more, visit inaudio.org.